Hello and a warm welcome to Joburg today. I am Nashina Mohammed. It's always a pleasure to have you with us. Janice Honeyman's Robin Hood and the Babes in the Wood is currently taking place at the Joburg Theatre. Our producer Raymond went to find out what the pantomime is all about.
Johannesburg is known to be the largest man-made forest in the world, and Robin Hood and the Babes in the Hood are here to take over our creeds with their pantomime right here at the Joburg Theatre. Let's go and check it out.
Robin Hood and the Babes in the Wood. It's a combination of two English folklore tales. Robin Hood is, interestingly enough, the most filmed of all English folklore tales. There's been more films based on Robin Hood than any other story in history, which is very interesting. Babes in the Wood has been put together with Robin Hood before now. We're not the first people to do it, to link the idea of the Sheriff of Nottingham and the two little kids in the forest. So what we've done is taken two tales and put them together and made it into a pantomime. We have to decide on the title we want to use at least 2 years ahead, because we get the scenery and costumes from England, from a company that are the kind of kings of pantomime around the world, and they have huge stores of sets. So it's necessary that we tell them what subject we want to do so that we can be certain they've got a set and costumes for that. The next process really is to get the star names you want. You know, we always like to have names above the title that people know, they recognize, hopefully love, you know.
So Friar Tuck is a bit of a slimy guy. He's sometimes a preacher, sometimes he's a politician, ex-politician, you know. He was a councillor.
And I'm the head of the regiment, in other words, the troops that are of Robin Hood's crew. I'm the head of that crew, but I mean, I get into it later once they discover that I'm a good stick fighter, you know, as an African man would be, you know? Yeah.
I am disguising myself as a male so that I could be part of Robin Hood's gang. And they fall for it, so they let me join.
You know, the thing about the pantomime, that's the fun about the pantomime, is that we can sort of take a classic story, or what do they call them, a fairy tale story, and sort of bring it to today. And that's why people love them, you know. People always know, because it happens at the end of the year, we kind of take all accounts that has happened, you know, in the year, things that has happened locally and internationally. Here's the thing, there's always some kind of educational value. Just because we know the content, it doesn't necessarily mean somebody sitting out there knows it, you know. So we just did a show now for children, you know, and there's always something that clicks, that kind of goes, oh, is that what it is? I didn't know, you know. So I believe, I'm one of those people. By the way, I studied to become a teacher, and I always believe that you teach children better if you entertain them, you know. And you've seen even little children, even adults, you know, people learn faster when something is interesting, and entertainment is always interesting.
Did you just call me a monkey, Penny?
People are saying left, right, and center that this is one of the best pantomimes. So because there's a great ratio of adult humor as well as children's humor, so it taps into everyone across the board, so no one's left out. But I mean, like, you're exposed to stories of which people are interpreting to you live. Anything can happen on stage. So what you were expecting from a performance that you may have seen last week to a show that you're watching today of the same show could change. You never know. Live theater is not a movie, because you never know what you're going to get. And the thing about live theater, it's not one-dimensional like watching a TV screen or a movie screen. It's three-dimensional. So especially with pantomime, the audience is allowed to interact with the people on stage.
South Africa's got such a small industry. And sometimes it sort of bites us in the back. You see the same faces in every single thing, and then it doesn't leave much room to actually develop something or to find a character. But The people who have training, you can tell the difference. First and foremost, go to school. It's not just an overnight thing, and that's one of my passions, to be able to when you're on stage, actually portray that you are professional in what you're doing, and it's not just something that you found off the streets kind of thing. So it is a professional career. I don't have a backup, so I make sure that I make the most of what I do. So the preparation is vital, the understanding of the material is vital, and also the giving. A large part of our on-stage work is giving to an audience, because it's in the now, as opposed to television where you could cut, edit, post and where it's on stage. If you make a mistake now, you must be able to fix it right now and still be convincing.
Like us on Facebook, joburgtoday.tv, and follow us on Twitter at Joburg Today. The Alternative Print Workshop offers an educational and working environment where artists can learn, create, and be inspired. We speak to Dennis, a master of black and white hand printing, who took us through his photographic process with his 50 years experience in the industry.
We started the company a number of years ago, and basically what we do is we work with artists, we work with art photographers, teaching and working in the historic printing processes. Processes that were 150 years old, some of them. Processes that started photography, that was the initiation of photography in those days. And we teach those processes and we work on project with artists. That particular camera that you see there is called a plate camera. It was built in 1925 for Kodak by an American company. We've had it refurbished and it still works perfectly, the camera, and that's the camera we use for the wet plate process. It's a very tricky process, a very beautiful aesthetic process, where we take a sheet of glass, we coat it with a special emulsion, and the secret here is that the emulsion is still wet. It's still wet. The emulsion is then on this glass, it's coated on a glass, then the emulsion, the glass plate is transferred to the camera. Old days, of course, they used available light, and that's why you see that little thingamabob at the back. That's to keep your head steady when the exposure or when we're taking the photograph. Today, of course, we use modern digital flash, which makes it much, much easier to take the photograph. Once the photograph is taken, we take that sheet of glass and it's put through some chemicals, and it almost looks like a positive or a negative, depending how you expose it. Then it's painted on the back of the glass and you put into a box, as you see over there on the right. That's the wet collodion process that we're introducing to the country. The digital process is proved itself, so we don't have an argument against it. We endorse it. It can help us in a lot of ways. It's a useful tool. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to give you, first of all, the historic excitement, the historic opportunity to work in historic processes. So we're not competing against the digital world. Having 50 years experience in the game, it's a very tricky thing. What I can tell you is from the day I've entered into the photographic world has been exciting, and it's still exciting to this day, even the old school stuff, even the digital stuff. So the photographic medium is just such a wonderful medium. It's a miracle. It's a miracle that you can just take a tool, press a button, and you get something so accurate and so fast. So the whole photographic industry is wonderful. But for me, I'm a black and white master printer, and I still print black and white hand prints in a simple darkroom with a simple enlarger for photographers, galleries from around the world. And just that simplicity of it is the most beautiful thing.
Hi, I'm Lois Mkize, and you're watching Joburg Today.
And that brings us to the end of this show, but for more coverage on the city, check out our playlist. And that's it from me, Nashina. Enjoy the rest of your week.